In this Wi-Fi story, a tale of a haunted school that's just steeped in history. For this Wi-Fi story, we've come to one of Europe's smallest but most haunted cities. Behind me is Ely Cathedral, but interestingly enough, that isn't the subject of our haunting today. This is the King's School, also in Ely. But the two could be very much connected. The school was originally built back in the 7th century, but it has a whole bunch of ghosts. Not just ghosts that people see, but particularly ghosts that people hear. So, let's go inside and find out more.
There are various monks that people see walking about like this, with robes, white robes, at various heights and levels. Sometimes people just see half of them, sometimes they see the whole body. And people also talk in the cathedral about statues moving, just slightly, nodding or moving a prayer book, closing a prayer book, opening a prayer book. And sometimes a statue moving its head round to look at somebody during a solo in an anthem or something. A choir boy last term became very excited when one evening he was singing a solo in the cathedral at evensong. And he was convinced that from the corner of his eye he just caught a statue moving its head towards him.
Okay, so there's monks seen around the school, but they're probably not connected to the school, but to the cathedral next door.
Well, it's an ancient school. In about the 670s, St. Ethelreda came here, these virgin queens from Anglo-Saxon times, came here to Ely, which then was a very remote place, very desolate, in the middle of the fens. She founded an abbey here and at the same time founded a school to train people who become monks and nuns in the abbey.
Apart from the endless stories, the Y-Files found a witness to these ecclesiastical spirits, former master of the school, Ian Matheson.
Well, my strongest experience, though it wouldn't bear scientific examination, was when I was producing a play in the cathedral for the King's School. It was about the building of Canterbury Cathedral, so it transferred quite successfully to Ely Cathedral. And for some extraordinary reasons, I stood under the octagon looking towards the south transept, where the acting area was. I was constantly turning round to look at the statue of Dean Caesar, which is beside the pulpit, a Tudor dean. And he seemed to be aware of what was going on, or interested in what was going on. And quite involuntarily, I was constantly turning round. He would be a good 50 feet or more away from me. Just before the production started, the dean of that time came to me and said, you know, Dean Caesar would very much have approved of what you're doing here, because he was instrumental for bringing the arts into the cathedral in his day, which of course excited me, quite unscientifically. That was my strongest experience.
I think I do believe in a spiritual world, and I believe there are actually three particular kinds of spirits, and I think this particular one would go along the lines of the building almost having a memory. I think that time is a very fluid thing. I don't think we even begin to understand time. And I think if the conditions are right under certain circumstances, I think that time shifts and that we experience something that's gone on before.
When people come to me with a tale like this, I listen to them, I take them seriously. I think that obviously they're saying something real for them, something which has really happened for them, and I listen to them. And I try to assess how they are within themselves with the experience. All of these things that I've talked about, people have found exciting and energizing, but not frightening. And so in that sense, I don't see that there's a pastoral concern for me, not a problem.
Well, on the Y-Files, we always like to bring along our own clairvoyant or medium to take a look around the particular place we're investigating, and today is no exception. Gloria Conroy is with us again. Nice to welcome you back to the show. Now, you've had a good walk around inside and out, and I know you picked up quite a few things, so tell us what you've got.
There's a very, very strong feel from the cathedral. I can feel lots of people walking around. It's rather like we're in a different time dimension. There's people walking within people here. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's going to overlap. You're going to hear things, you're going to see things that aren't necessarily of this time.
So do you think there are people here from lots of different times, ghosts here from lots of different times?
Downstairs I smelt horses really strongly. I could virtually feel them and straw. Upstairs, there was nothing on the staircase, but upstairs in the dining room itself, there was a woman in a grey filmy dress, and she looked as if she was sewing. But she was gazing out the window towards the cathedral, and I got this immense sadness. I just felt like I really wanted to cry. As we moved on, we went to the chapel. Now, in there, that was very interesting, because even from the outside, I got this voice saying Francis. And it was either Pi or Y, I couldn't quite get that, but Francis. And it was a male voice that whispered that. The library, now that was fascinating, because there I actually heard a voice that says, "Thou art a greybeard." And I saw this man walk from the fireplace across to the window. His gown was actually dragging on the floor. To begin with, I thought it was a woman because of his gown, but it was a man. He walked across to the window and just stood looking out, but he seems to walk, and he's probably quite noisy while he does this, but I could smell herbs and hear straw crunching on the ground.
The problem with ghosts is that people tend to think about them as appearances, visual things. I have not seen any ghosts, but I have been aware of presences, for want of a better word. And moreover, I'm not frightened of them. And I think a lot of people see things or imagine things because they're terrified or because the buildings are old and dripping with history.